Gentlemen, please be upstanding for Her Worship the Mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to remain upstanding for a minute's silence for former Councillor Doreen Edwards, please? Thank you very much. You may remove your jackets if you wish. Do you want to do your bit first? Or? Okay. Are there any apologies for absence, please?
Councillor Brian Mansbridge.
I even waited my turn.
I know.
I was a good boy.
Yes.
Councillor Lisa Mitten apologises. She's stuck in traffic, maybe a little late. And Councillor Leighton Smart, please.
Are there any declarations of interest, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. On item 6, I'm the council rep for Safer Merthyr.
Councillor.
Like Councillor Sir Thomas, I put my hand up, Madam Mayor, do it properly. Item 10, Madam Mayor, the BIFA profit sharing scheme. I have two beautiful granddaughters who attend the school.
Item 10, the same Governor of the school.
Simon.
Item 10 again, Madam Mayor, I'm Chair of Governors.
Gareth, did you have your hand up? No? Oh, sorry. We'll take A to J together. Are there any amendments, please? Councillor Batts?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 21 is the minutes from scrutiny, Neighbourhood Services, Public Protection. Page 21, the fourth bullet point down and the sixth. It should read Rent Smart Wales and also affecting your team. If that can be amended, I'm happy to move them. Thank you.
Can we vote on them then, please? Oh, can someone move them first?
Happy to move them.
Thank you. Can we vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 4, Cabinet appointment to consider a report to the Chief Executive. I believe the leader has taken this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this report is presented this evening because of the decision by Councillor David Jones to resign from Cabinet following a very unfortunate error on his part related to the Local Government Finance Act of 1992. Before I advise Council of the new arrangements, I'd first like to give my personal thanks to Councillor Jones for the huge contribution that he's made over the past 5 years or so as Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood Services and Public Protection. I think it's fair to say, Madam Mayor, that Councillor Jones has given 100% to this role during this period, and he has an excellent understanding of his brief. He has never run away from making tough decisions, and I have no doubt whatsoever in my mind that Councillor Jones will continue in making a significant contribution to this council for many years to come. Madam Mayor, having thought long and hard about what to do in terms of filling the vacant post, I've been minded that we have only 6 months before the local elections next May, and at this late stage in the administration, it would be better to create as little churn as possible. However, given the nature of the neighbourhood services portfolio, it would also be very unfair to ask a new cabinet member to pick up where Councillor David Jones has left off. Consequently, given the close working relationship between Councillor Jones and Councillor Barry, and the clear overlap in certain areas between neighbourhood services and regeneration planning and the countryside portfolio, I have now asked Councillor Barry to move to neighbourhood services, and I have asked Councillor Kate Moran to take up the regeneration planning and countryside portfolio currently occupied by Councillor Barry. I feel that Councillor Moran has the necessary expertise and skill set to take to this role, and I think it'll be a good idea that putting her into that role with Councillor Barry as mentor as needed, given his experience there as well. Councillor David Jones will then sit on the scrutiny and audit panels vacated by Councillor Moran. I'd like to also point out, Madam Mayor, that these new arrangements will be effective from tomorrow morning of December the 1st.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Earlier this month, it was brought to my attention that I had inadvertently fallen foul of the financial regulations relating to outstanding council tax payments. Following a genuine oversight in 2015-16, I failed to pay my council tax as required, though I wish to stress that it was paid in full well before the end of that financial year. Because of this, and in order that I did not bring into question the integrity of the leader, Cabinet and Council colleagues and the authority, I took the decision to resign my position as Portfolio Member for Neighbourhood Services and Public Protection. I can only apologise to all those mentioned and to the people who elected me for the difficulties caused by my unintended actions. I would like to state for the record that the leader, Councillor Brendan Toomey, had no influence in my decision, and he could not have been more supportive to me in my role both as a councillor since 2008 and my cabinet role from 2012. I would also like to thank those members and officers who have made positive comments on my time as their portfolio member. And I would finally like to congratulate the new portfolio member on their appointment and hope they enjoy the role and challenge as much as I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, can I just obviously come into the stage to second the leader's direction as to what's going to happen?
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I...
Being a bit finicky, but Councillor Jones said that the new member, or the new cabinet member, she's not the new cabinet member yet.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not being pernickety, just being my usual nice, charming self. I welcome Kate Moran's appointment. Having worked with her as a ward councillor for 4 years, she's been an absolutely excellent colleague to work with, in spite of her strange leanings towards the Labour side. So I do say well done and welcome her.
Can I take it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 5, revised medium-term financial plan 2017-18 to 2020-21, progress update. I believe it's the Deputy Leader taking this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report starts on page 41 of your agenda pack, and the summary of the report is on that page. But can I talk us through some parts of the report, please, just to stress a number of items in this report I think that all members need to be aware of. Page 42, paragraph 3, gives you the background to the settlement, 3.1. And the clear message there is that, fortunately for this authority, the Welsh Government introduced what they call a floor in terms of a negative settlement. So we received a negative settlement of 0.5%, which was the floor. If we hadn't, or if the government hadn't introduced the floor, we actually would have had a negative settlement of 1.16%, which would have cost us even more money against our medium-term financial plan, which I will now refer to as the MTFP. The other interesting point on paragraph 3.1 is the last bullet point there, in that the Welsh Government made no formal mandate this time around of the 1% cash protection commitment made to schools in the past. Now that again is an important matter from the financing of local government's point of view, and authorities are now inclined to deal with it as they so wish. If you move to page 43, you'll see from paragraph 3.3 that we've been dealing with the MTFP, and all members will be aware of this time after time, various meetings. It's been built up, and Steve, in his usual meticulous self, has shown us how things have progressed over the period. And at paragraph 3.4, we've got the table showing the situation as at the last time we dealt with it, which I think was the 10th of September 2016. At that point in time, the 16-17 budget was in balance, and still is, but we should from now on deal with a 17-18 budget, which at the time was forecasting a deficit of £4.6 million, £4.67 million, leading over the following 3 years to a total of £15.26 million. However, if you move over the page to page 44, you'll see that at 4.1, there have been, again, changes, as you would expect with a living MTFP, in accordance with the 5 headings bullet pointed on 4.1, which are dealt with actually in more detail then in terms of the Table 2. Table 2 shows us, therefore, that there has been a slight improvement in the forecast deficit for 17-18 of £2.479 million, with a figure over 3 years of £13.7 million. Members of all parties, I must stress that these are not fictitious figures, these are what we are living with, and I hope that when we come to fight an election in March and April, that anyone who is fighting the election actually doesn't ignore the fact that this authority will face a £13.7 million problem in a couple of years' time, which will have to be dealt with. You can't get away with saying we are actually going to introduce cuts and we're going to reinstate so and so. The reality is we are living in the world we're living in at the moment. I will actually refer us to paragraph 5 on page 45, and the first paragraph there, 5.1, mentions what the settlement was, and there were no indications given for future years. But if you actually turn over the page to page 46, and paragraph 5.5, you'll see that at the WLGA annual conference on the 3rd of November, Mark Drakeford, the Cabinet Secretary, forewarned councils to expect even more significant reductions in revenue settlements for 2018-19. I think, Leader, you said this year's the best it's going to be. So that's the sort of framework we're in. We are looking at severe times in 18-19. However, there is a little bit of good news from our point of view because of the prudence of the finance team and the officers, and that actually is set out in tables 3 and 4. Table 4 is the comparison in terms of the percentage reductions, and what it's saying there is that we already for 17-18 had said, okay, we're going to have a negative settlement of 3.5%. As it turned out, it was 0.5%. We then, for subsequent years, we're going to build it up to a 4.5 negative settlement, but we've decided now that, again, given the Chancellor's warning, we're going to have to build in from 18-19 onwards a negative settlement of 4.5%. If we find that we will have a settlement lower than that, that'll be slightly to our advantage, as Table 3 will show. But if it isn't, and as I say, from what Mark Drakeford is saying and from what the Chancellor's statement was, we are in for a heck of a rough time. We will actually be at least ensuring that we are trying our best to cover what the future looks like. Table 3 is really the translation of Table 4 into finance, into numbers. And what is meant there is that because of the fact that we didn't have such a severe negative settlement, we can actually build back £2.7 million back into our MTFP that we previously said was going to cost us in future years. If I can now refer you back to Table 2 on page 44, you've got a series of headings there, as you can see, the implications of the provisional settlement I've just dealt with, and then the following lines are actually dealt with in subsequent paragraphs. So, schools commitments will be paragraph 6, corporate growth will be paragraph 7, corporate budget reductions paragraph 8, and then the service outcome focused redesign at paragraph 9. So that means I can now quickly move us through the subsequent paragraphs, because as I say on page 46, paragraph 6 is the schools cash protection commitment. As I said earlier, authorities have been left with the choice whether they would provide a commitment. This authority is providing a commitment in 17-18 to schools, and the figures are set out there. And the schools have said they will play their bit and have promised to find £200,000, although we, as you can see, we are committing £1.166 million to them in 17-18. What will happen thereafter we cannot say. We cannot say at this stage because, again, the settlement is the key element for us. But you can see so far this authority is committed to its schools. We have been committed, we will remain committed, and as far as possible we will commit to our schools to ensure that the excellent work that's been done by the whole schools and the teams behind them continues year on year to see us developing the children of this County Borough Council. I now move on to paragraph 7, which is the corporate growth requirements, and these are actually set out in Appendix 3. I am not going to go through Appendix 3, but again, members will be able to ask questions when I've stopped going through the report. But again, you can see the requirements in 17-18 is a growth for £1.8 million. There's no point setting a budget without saying, now and again, we're going to have to put money back in. And there are two key areas here, social services and schools. Looked after children is an issue that we're going to have to cover. You just can't say, well, we don't want to know about them. You have to cover them, so we put the money back in. Social care is another area. ALN is another area. These are areas that we have to cover, and having had serious and robust discussions with departments, that's the sort of money that's been put back into the budget in terms of growth, if you can call it growth. But on the other side of the coin, paragraph 8 on page 47 is where can we make several reductions? And again, that's clearly set out in Appendix 4 for you. And over the page, on page 48 on table 7, we've set out really the headings in terms of reductions, which are currently at £2.129 million. Paragraph 9 deals with the service outcome focus redesign. If you want to know what that means, read paragraph 9.1. But again, paragraph 5 sets out what we have been putting in on that. Now, paragraph 10 is an important one in terms of council tax assumptions. The MTFP has been worked on the basis of a council tax increase a couple of years back of 3.5%. We have put that in prudently, but again, the difficulty for any administration is to balance the duty to the staff and the public and the duty in terms of how we fund that. So again, it really is a balancing act, and year on year you will have a report from us around Christmas, March time, setting the council tax increase. That could, at this stage, we just got the 3.5 in the budget. We will obviously report further back on that. So we come to paragraph 11, which is just a summary of what's been said, that we are projecting a budget deficit of 2.479 for 17-18 and 13.7 for the period next 3 years, subject to, and this is a very important one in paragraph 11.2, that we deliver 100% of the figures already in the budget for us to work with for the strategic partnership budget, which is £1.748 million. What it means there is that if we don't deliver any of that 1.748, our target for next year is 2.479 plus 1.748. So that really increases the the picture. And if you want to look at the overall over 3 years, it goes from 13.7 to 16.9, say £17 million. So that's the sort of scenario we're in. I cannot stress the difficulty, and hopefully the Labour Party will be in control and we will deal with it in post-May. Madam Mayor, if I can bring us back to paragraph 42. I say hopefully, I don't say hopefully, do I? Paragraph 42, recommendations 2.1 to 2.3, subject to questions and comments, I move.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to second the Deputy Leader, and can I just say that I've been fortunate enough to have been able to meet with the Cabinet Secretary for Local Government and Finance on several occasions as part of the WLGA Executive to ask for this particular flooring mechanism, and I'm delighted that the Cabinet Secretary, Mark Drakeford, has listened to our request, because the settlement for this year would have been far worse had he not done so, so I'm very grateful to him for that.
Can I come back in? I should really have said to Steve, because you know, he's the guy who knows far more than me. Is there anything else you wish to add to the report before we open up for questions and comments?
The point I'd make is to go back to page 45 and 5.4, and again, and to state that that just for the future, we are estimating a minus 4.5% settlement, because that's what we've been warned and to expect for just 18-19 onwards.
Clive?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I can take members to page 52, it's Appendix 2, and it's headed Changes in Key Data Sets for 2017-18. And the first line you come to there is Population 2014 based. You follow that figure along, it's got 60,077 for 2016-17. Then the next year, 2017-18, the figure goes down by approximately 900. I understand that these are Welsh Government estimates. So, you know, there's somebody somewhere in the Welsh Government knows something that we don't.
Well, that is actually, it's based on estimates as at the 2016, so yes, it is the latest estimates as the projections for the thing going forward.
Can I come in as well, just to add to it? As I've said previously, if you look at page 52, you'll see actually there's an overall drop in population for the whole of Wales. So clearly these are the statisticians in the Welsh Government, who I had the pleasure of working with many moons ago, and how they work is a mystery to me still. But I mean, if that's the way it is statistically worked out, unless anybody else can add anything at the top table, I think we're just going to have to accept what, obviously, well, we've got no option. We have to accept what Welsh Government tells us.
Any further questions, please? Councillor Toomey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I take Phil, please, back to financial implications 11.1 and 11.2? And I know that I'm asking here for him to almost have a crystal ball, but how realistic are these revised budget deficits, assuming this 100% delivery of the strategic partnership? I mean, it's such an unknown quantity and an unknown road in front of us. Are we reasonably certain about these figures? Because they will make an enormous difference to the budget deficit even if we manage 95% of it or 90% of it.
You're talking about paragraph 11.2 there, Richard, obviously, aren't you? Yeah. The 1.748 and leading on to 3.256. The officers are currently working really hard to ensure that that's delivered. The pressure from us as politicians is that it must be delivered. At this point in time, I can't give you a definitive answer. It would be unwise to try and give you a definitive. I know if Steve wants to add something on this.
If I could add there that at this point, we are confident of about £1.1 million. At this point, we are confident, but we still feel that the other £600,000 will be made good over the next few months. But as at this point now, we have £1.1 million in the bank.
Any further questions, please? Comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I compliment, and this must come as difficult from me to Phil, but compliment Phil and his colleagues, particularly on the provision for schools and the acceptance that we will continue with the formula, if you like, of cash protection, in spite of the fact that schools will have to find additional losses in the financial year of around about 200,000, I think, which is going to be difficult for them, particularly at a time when so many of them have done so well academically in the last year. I think schools are to be complimented, but I do compliment Phil and his colleagues as well for maintaining those figures. It's just a shame that obviously the good looks in the family, if his two granddaughters are that good looking, it must have skipped a generation somewhere.
Any further comments, please? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 6, Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum co-opted membership on the authority scrutiny committees. I understand it's the leader to take this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, the Council's been approached by Safer Merthyr Tydfil on behalf of the Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum, asking that we consider allowing a representative of the forum to sit on the Council's 5 scrutiny committees as a co-opted member. I don't intend going through the detail of the report, Madam Mayor, because members will no doubt have already read it in some detail themselves. Given this Council's commitment to our participation agenda, I'm sure all members will support this request. The Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum is recognised across Wales as an outstanding organisation, and I'm sure, as will all members of Council, be absolutely positive that the inclusion of a member of the forum can only enhance this Council scrutiny process. The only caveat, Madam Mayor, that I would put is that for the Youth Forum, it would be for the Youth Forum to make the nominations to the scrutiny committees, but also including the Audit Committee, which they omitted to request. So I think we should also hold that particular offer open to them as well. And it'll be for those individuals who are co-opted onto the individual committees to arrange their attendance as necessary. And for the avoidance, Madam Mayor, of any doubt, further possible doubt down the line, it will be for those individual scrutiny and audit committees to determine the timings of the meetings as they currently do. So I think there's got to be flexibility on the part of the young people who attend these meetings as well. Moving to paragraph 2 of the report, Madam Mayor, with a slight amendment to 2.1, I move that the Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum be invited to nominate one Youth Forum co-opted member to sit as a non-voting co-opted member on each of the authority's 5 scrutiny committees and the authority's audit committee, and that 2.2, the authority's constitution be amended accordingly.
Madam Mayor, in seconding the leader's motion, I would like to refer to paragraph 4.2 on page 60, which really sets out the role of the Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum. I think they're quite clearly there. We are now providing what is actually in the constitution in terms of reference, and I am extremely pleased to second the leader.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? If I take Councillor Lewis first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Children's Champion, I wholeheartedly support the recommendations of this report. Over the last 4.5 years, I have been fortunate to get to know members of the Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide Youth Forum through attending their events and various meetings. In doing so, I support the leader and can confirm that their first-class analytical skills and the attention to detail will ensure that they will become welcome additions to our 5
scrutiny committees.
Councillor Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just demoted you. Sorry, I was miles away. It would come as no shock to people in this chamber that I welcome this move enormously, having been the children's champion and cabinet member that brought the youth mayor and the Merthyr Tydfil Borough-wide youth forum into being. Having sat last Friday through the inauguration process, it was amazing actually how well spoken and how diligent and how charming our young people are in the county borough. And I honestly feel that each of the scrutiny committees, and I'm delighted that the leader has added audit to that, they will benefit enormously from those people's perceptions, because they are different from ours, they are young people, and they will bring a great deal to the committees. Can I add a slightly negative note, insofar as I believe that the local authority shot itself in the foot last Friday, because Caris, how could you do that to me? I suppose it is relevant insofar as it may affect the attitude of young people to these committees, so it would be relevant. Okay, well, you stop me if I'm wrong then, but what I was simply going to say is that the attendance in the chamber for the inauguration was quite poor, and a number of young people did say that they thought it disappointing, and I think therefore it's just a word of caution, because I won't be here, that if people want to take people like the youngsters on board and be full in their participation, they need to show that support as often as they can.
Councillor Toomey?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, Councillor Thomas makes a fair point, and I think we really do need to have a look at the timing of the event for the inauguration of Youth Mayor. For example, I was fully due to take part in that particular ceremony last Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't get back into Merthyr until 6:45 that evening, having had ministerial meetings in Cardiff, WLJ meetings in Cardiff, and meetings with the leader, chief executive, and our chief executive up until very late that evening. Having spoken to other members across the political divide, a Friday night appears to be very difficult because of various other activities that members have, and perhaps it may be a good idea to perhaps have any future inaugurations possibly in the half term, because when I made inquiries about this particular issue a couple of years ago, we were told that it's on a Friday night because the young people don't have school on a Saturday morning. Well, if it's in the half term, that would negate any problems that are currently experienced, and I'm sure if it was earlier on in the week, even a Thursday evening, that members would make every effort to make an attendance.
Can I put this to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 7, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council membership of the Clr Public Services Board Joint Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I understand it's the Deputy Leader to take this.
Oh yes, we better get Councillor Smith back in, yes. We lost him, have we? Did Councillor Smith say he got lost? If that's the case, I don't think we should put you forward for this overview committee, because you've got to go to the Ronda for that. Madam Mayor, item number 7, page 63. This is a straightforward report. I ain't going to go into detail on this one, because really what it's asking for is for a approval for delegated authority in order to fill up the scrutiny committee with the relevant numbers. The issue really is on page 64 that we have to have 5 non-executive members from Merthyr, Tydfil, and we need to have a political balance. So all we're asking for on 2.1 on page 63 is that delegated authority be given to the leader, the chief executive, the leader of the opposition, to agree and confirm the authority's elected member, and to whatever. I move.
Can I have it seconded, please?
Yeah, second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 8, council tax base for 2017-18, and I believe it's the Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a straightforward statutory report. It comes up every year, and I take pleasure now in reading the recommendation on page 79 at 2.1, which is taking into account the number of properties in each valuation band, discounts, reductions for disabilities, and future likely changes in the valuation list, I would recommend that the Council passes the following resolution. Here we go. That pursuant to this report and in accordance with the local authorities brackets calculation of council tax base close brackets and council tax brackets prescribed class of dwellings close brackets open brackets Wales close brackets open brackets amendments close brackets regulations 2004, the number calculated by the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council for 2017-18 shall be 18,069.24 dwellings. That's good, that. And then in brackets, you've got the previous year's figures. And for the area covered by the Bedlinog Community Council for 2017-18 shall be 1,127.21. Subject to questions and comments, I move.
Chief Executive would like you to repeat that, please.
Watch it on video.
That pursuant to this...
Moving on, Madam Mayor, I second the Deputy Leader.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 9, changes to local authority search fees, and is Councillor Barry to take this?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, we currently carry out 2 types of searches on behalf of purchasers of land and property, a local authority search and a personal search. The current fees for the local authority search are laid out in section 3.2 of the report, along with fees for additional questions. And the proposed new fees for this type of search are outlined in sections 4.2 to 4.6 of the report. Regarding personal searches, we used to charge a fee, but in 2010, personal search fees were abolished. Well, a new European directive states that we can now reintroduce fees for providing information, providing that the fees are published and the fees don't include any charges for maintaining databases. So, Madam Mayor, each department has conducted exercise to determine how the fees should be set, and they are listed in section 5.3 of the report. As far as financial implications go, Madam Mayor, assuming the same take-up of local authority searches as we currently have, there should be a small increase in revenue of approximately £2,500. With regard to personal search fees, based on previous 12 months, we would anticipate additional income of approximately £46,000. However, there is no guarantee that we will retain all the custom, because again, it is a competitive market. But you know, on last year's figures, we'd have an additional income of £46,000. So, Madam Mayor, subject to any questions of members, I move recommendations 2.1 and 2.2 on page 83 of the report.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 10, Biffa Profit Share Scheme, Mass Exodus. I believe the leader's going to take this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this report has come to Council tonight because 3 of the Dowlas Electoral Division members have declared an interest for the reasons that they stated at the start of the meeting. It's a straightforward report, therefore I move that the Pantasgarthog Primary School be supported in the sum of £850 as proposed by the Dowlas ward members.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 11 then, Rosafran Intermediate Grant Scheme is an information report only. Item number 12, to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. I have none. To receive communication for Her Worship the Mayor, I have none. So thank you very much everyone for attending. Thank you, Chris, for